Shalom, dear friends. All the major events that took place from the early morning of Good Friday to Saturday are described by Matthew in chapter 27. On Friday early morning, the Sanhedrin, the Supreme Court of the Jewish nation, meets and makes the death condemnation of Jesus. But they do not have the power to execute this death sentence. Therefore, they hand over Jesus to the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, that year. In fact, Pilate ruled from 26 to 36 AD as the Roman governor. Later, Matthew gives us the unique account of the tragic suicide of Judas. Because among the gospel narratives, it's Matthew alone giving us the incident of the suicide of Judas. There is a kind of a change in Judas when he sees the decision by the Sanhedrin. But there is a contrast that Matthew makes us to know. On the previous night, Peter denied Jesus, but there was also the repentance of Peter. Instead, on early morning of Friday, occasions the regret of Judas and his unfortunate suicide. In order to undo the crime that Judas did, he brings back the money to the authorities and he declares the innocence of Jesus. The unclean crime money is then used to buy the place to bury unclean people in an unclean place. Acts of the Apostles will tell us the place is called Hakeldama, called the field of blood, to bury the Gentile people. Later Jesus is brought to Pilate and he is condemned. The question of Pilate is political. Are you making yourself as the king of Jews? If Jesus said yes, that amounts to high treason, which is equivalent to rebellion against Rome, and that can lead to the death of Jesus. And this is the last time Jesus will answer a question. Since then, he will be silent to fulfill the prophecy of Isaiah 53:7. He did not open his mouth like a lamb led to the slaughterhouse. The demand of the Jewish authorities to release Barabbas, a notorious criminal, is again highly intentional. Barabbas means son of the father. There is both an irony and contrast. The first name of Barabbas is also Jesus. So we find the crowd persuaded the authorities to release this notorious criminal called Jesus Barabbas, meaning son of the father, in place of the innocent Jesus Christ, who is truly the son of the father. There is also the case of the wife of Pilate, who declares the innocence of Jesus. Again we find the contrast because she is a Gentile woman. Instead, soon after that, we hear the people as a whole all the Jewish people, and Matthew uses the term, Greek term laos, referring to the chosen people of God, God's own people. Otherwise, he would have used the term ethnos. So while laos, God's own people, would want Jesus to be killed, here is this Gentile woman, the wife of Pilate, declaring the innocence of Jesus. And soon after the condemnation, Jesus is flogged, which is a preparation for his crucifixion and death. The soldiers mock at Jesus using different symbols of kingship after stripping Jesus, making him wear a scarlet robe, a crown with thorns, and a scepter with a reed. And the climax of the physical abuse is by spitting and striking on the head repeatedly. Matthew introduces us to Simon of Cyrene, again a Gentile outsider who carries the cross of Jesus. Cyrene is a Roman province in the north of Africa. Where are the disciples of Jesus who are the insiders? Jesus said, if you want to be a disciple of mine, take up your cross. Where are his disciples? Here is Simon of Cyrene, Gentile, carrying the cross for Jesus. The crucifixion is just described in a simple short clause, because the focus is the fulfillment of the scriptures. Matthew's intention is not for us to cry over the passion of Jesus. We are not going to cry over the wounds, over the nails that pierce the hands and feet of Jesus. No, that is not the intention of Matthew. Matthew wants us to know that everything takes place according to God's plan, and Jesus resolutely goes to his passion and death. Even the title that was given to Jesus as an accusation, as a mockery, Jesus, King of the Jews, is actually the reality, although it was meant to be a mockery. We find the three groups of people who are mocking, those the passers-by. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross. Remember in chapter 4, the Satan, if you are the Son of God, make these stones to bread. Temptation continues. Satan returns in the form of people. The second group, the entire Jewish authority, the chief priests, the scribes, elders, and the bandits who were crucified with Jesus. Finally, verses 45 to 56, we come to the death of Jesus. As I said earlier, Matthew does not focus on the intensity of pain, but on the significance of the death of Jesus. There is first of all darkness. It's a cosmic symbol. In Exodus chapter 10, when the Israelites celebrated the first Passover, there was darkness all over Egypt. This is an inauguration of the eschatological event, an inauguration of greater events which are going to take place. And the death of Jesus is going to affect the whole cosmos, whole universe. There will be a new heaven and a new earth. And Jesus is crying, my God, why have you abandoned me? Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. This is not a cry of despair by an atheist. No. He quotes Psalm 22, which ends in a psalm of trust in God. In fact, evangelist tells us he breathed his last, making this prayer of psalm. Jesus said, my God, even in that moment of terrible suffering, my God, not any God, that close relationship of Jesus with the Father is highlighted. And the bystanders misunderstand that he is calling Elijah. The curtain of the temple separates the holy place from the other parts, split into two. With the death of Jesus, the purpose of the temple changes. In AD 70, the temple was destroyed, and Matthew understands that the event of the death of Jesus is a sign of God's punishment. There's the earthquake, which will be repeated again at the time of the resurrection. The opening of the tomb of the saints will represent soon the opening of the tomb of Jesus. There is a declaration by the centurion. Remember, at the beginning of the gospel, there is the declaration of the divinity of Jesus by his father at the baptism. At the middle of the gospel, declaration by Peter. And finally, at the end of the gospel, there is the Roman centurion, a pagan and Gentile, declaring the divinity of Jesus. And finally, we have the burial scene. Joseph of Arimathea, Matthew tells us, he's a rich man. He is the disciple of Jesus who gives a new tomb for burial of Jesus. And there, Matthew mentions about two women who were present at the death of Jesus and at the burial of Jesus and at the resurrection of Jesus. Because there is no doubt that these people witnessed to the death, burial and resurrection. So that there should not be any doubt that these are fabricated stories. So Jesus cannot be contained in the sealed tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. He will rise again. May the death of Christ liberate us. Amen.